Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Chasing Sound Live. If you caught me in the intro there, looked like I was talking to myself. I promise I wasn't talking to myself. For the first time in this show's history, I actually have a guest, which I'm very excited about. It's Mr. Simon Allaway. I'm going to bring him on in a second. And that was his song that you heard during the intro there. So, very, very cool stuff. Not only is he a great guitar player, but he's also a builder and likes to work on guitars. And he always seems excited about this type of stuff. I love his enthusiasm about that stuff. So, I wanted to have him on. Hey, Rise, welcome to the chat. A lot of Discord folks. Hopefully, they stop in today. But yeah, let me shift it over here. There he is. Mr. Simon Allaway, how's it going, sir?
All right. Very glad to be here.
Very, very cool. So yeah, I mean, we're going to be touching on a couple different topics today. The meat of the subject really is talking about repairing your guitars and building your own stuff. But anything else that you want people to know about you right off the bat? You know, a little background on yourself.
Sure. Well, I'm British dude, but living in Chicago. I've been playing guitar for, let me think, I started in 1981, so perhaps too long. Playing electric since let me think. I bought my first electric in 86, 85, 86, somewhere around there. And I've been fiddling around with them since 86, 87. Because
What was that
that's always,
first guitar that you bought?
it was a Hondo SG copy.
Nice.
And I remember taking it back to the store about 2 weeks after I got it because I was disturbed at how bendy the neck was, not realizing it was just a piece of wood and they bend. So that's how much I knew when I first bought it. It was 80 pounds, which is like 120 bucks.
Wow.
Yeah. And these days, well, you know what cheap guitars are like. They're maybe entry level 300. So
Oh, for sure.
for back then, it was actually probably quite expensive.
Yeah, I mean, some of the guitars that you have hanging up behind you are stuff that you put together, which is exciting. I'm excited to talk about that in a little bit.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But yeah, just to kick it off, we got a couple people here saying I stopped watching the top 10 Sega Saturn games to watch this. I mean, that's a tall compliment, you know.
Yeah.
Sega Saturn, not one of my systems that I played quite a bit back in the day, but that's cool.
I bought my wife a T-shirt that says "I paused my game to be here."
Nice, very nice. So, so yeah, like I said, we had a couple like small topics to get out of the way here at the beginning. The first one is that one of the guys in our Discord chat, David, I was talking about it in the newsletter, kind of got this idea that we should do a song challenge every month. We were working on Oasis. Some of us were working on Oasis last month a little bit, and this month we're working on the Cult's Firewoman, which is exciting. Actually have a tab here that we've been messing about with on Guitar Ultimate Guitar, which is really cool. This is similar to kind of like a Guitar Pro version of the song where there's different tracks, the rhythm tracks, the solo tracks. It's actually pretty good, and you don't even need to have a paid account to check it out. So I think that was pretty cool. If you don't know this song or if you don't know the Cult, you have to go fix that because this is a great song. Simon, I mean, I know how big. I mean, I was only a couple years old when this album came out, but when this album first came out, and She Sells Sanctuary, I know those two songs were huge. How big do you think this song was back then? Really?
Big, certainly big. For me, there were like two versions of the Cult. There was the She Sells Sanctuary version, that kind of trippy, thick, gooey sound that they had, and it was very much Ian Astbury just being Jim Morrison as much as he possibly could,
Sure.
and Duffy just doing. He's got big fat flangy sound, especially at the beginning of Firewoman.
Yeah.
But then the other kind of Cult was the Electric album, which for me, that's always going to be one of my top 5 albums of all time, because that's what that came out in '87. I was only 15, and that's what made me buy a Marshall and a Les Paul.
Very cool.
Albeit, because it was just that visceral, that beautiful rhythm tone, and it's just basic. It's just a guitar, a chord, and a Marshall cranked.
It's
just
so
fabulous.
It's so cool because we had so many songs to pick from, and this just kind of landed on the one that it was this month. And I think I've always liked this song for a long time, and I just like a lot of the sounds of albums produced by Bob Rock too.
Yeah.
This is one of them. It's really great. I was taking a look. I didn't even realize this because I feel like Billy Duffy didn't have the notoriety here maybe that I thought he should have, but it turns out he does also have a signature guitar, which I was taking a look at over here on the Gretsch website. It's a White Falcon. Really nice. They're saying it was, the 70s style, the 70s style shape of the White Falcon. It's kind of like a silver sparkle look. Really awesome guitar. I mean, I know we're not a huge fan of Bigsby's in the chat, maybe, but
I'm not.
Yeah, no, I'm not either. But
I'm spearheading that effort, but people like them for whatever reason.
But yeah, I mean, I can't deny the sound of this, and it seems really cool. I can't say that I would be buying anyone anytime soon. It's a little pricey, even more pricey probably than a regular White Falcon.
But how cool does he look? Look at that.
He looks super cool, except it's $4,200 or so. So,
That's ridiculous.
nice guitar. I mean, nice guitar, but yeah, he looks super cool. So yeah, if you're not part of the chat yet, in the Discord, there's one there's a link to it on my website on chasingsound.com. Come jump in there. We're in there literally every day talking about guitars and all sorts of different things. And we're gonna try to learn this song and hopefully maybe put some videos up every once in a while in different parts and see how they are. So yeah. So Rise is saying, need to remortgage the house to buy that. Yeah. We have a running joke about slate roofs in our chat. This is at least one slate roof's worth of work to purchase this guitar.
Yep.
I know. Here he goes in the chat. I know 11 Secret Herbs and Spices. I know you had a Falcon at some point. I can't remember if you still have it, but it's a really it's a cool guitar. It's an awesome guitar. So the next thing I wanted to talk about though was a video that's been making the rounds the last week or so, which has come up from Rick Beato. I really like Rick Beato's channel. I think it's great. Every once in a while, I feel like there's a couple clickbaity videos that he does. Simon, I don't know if you think this is a similar thing, but he talks about, let me bring the video up a little bit here. He talks about talking with Jeff Berlin.
Right. Yes, I did see that one.
Yeah, so this is him talking back to a conversation he had with Jeff Berlin, where Jeff says that, Jimi Hendrix or anyone like Jimi Hendrix, any musician right now is not really a star as much as they were back in the day where, somebody like a Jimmy Page or Eddie Van Halen and so on were bona fide stars. And he thinks Jimi Hendrix wouldn't be a star these days. I have my own thoughts on this. I feel like it depends on really what he's talking about there, because I feel like Hendrix made such a huge impact that did eventually, influence so many other people. But I don't know. He brings up people like Tim Henson. He brings up people like Tosin Abasi that are really popular guitar players, but are not necessarily stars in the traditional sense. I just want to know what you thought about it and thought about the video kind of in general.
Yeah, two things there. I think Jimi Hendrix was an amazingly innovative guitarist, and he was based in the blues, and that's critical. But secondly, very much a product of his times. Britain in 1967 was practically the grooviest place to ever be alive. The Beatles had prepped the world for weird stuff with Revolver the year before.
Sure.
End of '66, they did Strawberry Fields. They opened up the whole world to experimentation, using the studio as an instrument, right? So that was weird. Then Hendrix comes along, brought over by the manager of the Animals, Chas Chandler, and because he wasn't really making it in the US, he just sort of stopped being a sideman and was starting to do his own thing, but he just wasn't making it. So he ended up over in London, ended up with Noel Redding and Mitch Mitchell as his rhythm section, and he was free. He was free to do whatever he wanted. So imagine you're the Beatles, you're Paul McCartney, you've finished Sgt. Pepper's. You know you've made the most incredible recording to date.
Yeah.
We could say of all time, but let's hedge on to date. And then a few days before the release party, you go and see Hendrix play at the Marquee, and he plays Sgt. Pepper's to you. He was the first person to ever play that music live. And he nailed it.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Being a Hendrix fan, I didn't know that. No, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And think of it another way. The Montreux Rock Festival, Jimi Hendrix was there because Paul McCartney said, you should have this guy on the roster. He should play.
Yeah.
So he was very much, if you've got someone like the Beatles behind you saying, hey, this guy's good, you should hear it. The entire glitterati of London in 1967 were like, oh man, he's so groovy. And he was genuinely making sounds that nobody had ever heard before.
True.
So I believe it's all of those things is why he had the impact he did, because he was this blip of innovation in a sea of it. You know, the bedrock of music society at the time everything was all laid in place, ready for him to show up, and he did.
I wonder if there's any room for that today, right? Like, I mean, I can't see. I mean, I listen to so much music each and every day. I can't see. I can't think of another Beatles happening right now, or I can't think of another time where someone like a Hendrix nowadays. I mean, I guess sure, like, you know, guys like Tosin Abasi are doing interesting things with 7 strings and 8 strings. Other guys have been doing that stuff for a while too. Meshuggah, Steve Vai, a lot of these new metal guys even. But I don't know. I really can't see where there would be stars. I guess like there's stars in our circle of guitarists and musicians, I guess, but not superstars or celebrities really. So
yeah, I agree. Speaking from my own experience, growing up in Britain in the 70s, there genuinely was a kind of single experience for a kid to have, because there were only 3 TV channels, and one of them didn't have kids programs on it. So there were essentially 2 TV channels, BBC One and ITV, that a kid would watch. You would, on a Thursday night, there was Top of the Pops, which was showcasing artists that had been in the top 10 of the chart. There was just one chart. There were no other charts.
Sure.
And you heard that top 40 on a Sunday afternoon on Radio 1. That was the only place you heard it. So then you knew that whoever was number 1 on a Sunday night, you'd see him on Top of the Pops on a Thursday. So everybody would be chatting about what was going on at school midweek. There was that one experience. There was no, oh well, you know, I'm reading, I watched this other website and they've got this other chart of indie artists with only 4 fingers on the left hand. You know, there were no highly specific charts. Those didn't happen for years. So the 60s was, according to my parents, was even more highly specific. There was only Radio 1 was just starting to cater to young people. There were pirate radio stations literally broadcasting off boats sat just in international waters off the coast. And there were just these tiny channels that they could listen to what they wanted to listen to. In the 50s, it was Radio Luxembourg, literally broadcasting AM from Luxembourg. That's where they'd hear, because that was there for the German forces that were stationed in Germany. And that's where most people heard sort of blues and rock-based stuff in the late 50s. That was my dad. He listened to Elvis on a tiny little transistor radio under his pillow at night. that was the only place you could hear it. Talk about a common experience. We don't, the internet has fragmented everything. We all get to indulge in our little niches, and it's beautiful. But there is no common experience anymore.
I'm sure we could talk about this for a whole episode. Like, even
Shut up.
No, even my kids. One of them is into Elvis, whereas my mother had mentioned that she was talking to a coworker the other day that didn't have any idea who the Beatles were, and that 10 years ago that scared me. I used to work at a music store, and someone was like, "Yeah, I know the name of the Beatles, but I don't really know the Beatles." And to me, growing up, I'm 40 now, but even as a kid, I just thought that the Beatles would always be something that's known universally. Hendrix, universally. Like, you just know that, like, Michael Jordan, and you maybe know Wayne Gretzky. The big names of music. It's common information.
Sure.
And I wonder if that's going away. It scares me a little bit.
There is no commonality anymore.
Yeah. And I guess, I don't know if streaming services are leading to that, with like the whole playlist era, or listening to singles and just having such large access to everything. But I maybe one other day we'll talk about that in more length. But so I know what we really wanted to talk about today. One of the big reasons I had you on is because, every time in the last year or so that I wanted to do something, whether it's some fretwork on my Charvel, I've kind of turned to the chat and you've said something, and you've seemed fearless when it comes to a lot of these repairs, but I don't think a lot of guitar players are. Like, maybe you have two sets of guitar players. One set that is very fearful about doing any repairs, or just leaves them by the wayside, and then one that kind of goes all the way and just maybe will damage their guitars at some point. I think the first thing I want to ask you was just, if a guitar player is looking to do something, like I wrote down a couple things that I feel like guitar players could easily work on. Cleaning their volume and tone pots, cleaning their input jack, maybe even replacing tuners or replacing parts on there just to get something better on there. What's your whole stance on that? And like, what would you say to somebody who wants to repair their own guitar but is a little nervous, like especially somebody who might be an intermediate guitarist? Maybe they're getting a guitar that's like $1,000. They don't want to damage it. Like, what would you say to them to get them started?
I would say, yes, it's good to be nervous, because you have to learn some skills, but none of this is rocket surgery. It all makes sense and it's so important to have the right tools, but the tools are massively available now. It's so easy to get hold of them. For instance, fiddling around with the setup of a guitar, you just generally need either some Allen keys, some small screwdrivers, a couple of wrenches, and once you understand the sort of physics, the mechanics behind the way an electric guitar, forget acoustics, they're a different animal that I'm not willing to talk about, as you understand.
Sure.
But electric guitars are so easy to work on once you kind of get it, and you can utterly change the way a guitar feels, because there's no ideal setup. You cannot simply specify, oh well, the strings have to be this far away from the frets and the neck has to do this and this, that. It's only ever correct for you, the player, and indeed depending on your mood.
Sure.
That'll change.
I have a friend who, plays a lot of Strandberg guitars, and he likes his action dramatically low, like where it's buzzing. And that's just not the way I play. I like to have a little bit of a fight, not too much, but I like my action to be a little bit higher. So you mentioned some of the tools. What do you think? First of all, where do you think is a good place to get some tools? Where have you bought your tools from? And what's like a good tool set for somebody to start out, working on their guitars?
Well, you can get these things. This one's called Cruise Tools Stagehand. I
have the same exact kit.
Right.
It's a good kit.
Ignore. Hang on. Let me switch to this cam here, because then I can show it.
Cool.
And it will reveal perhaps a little about what we're going to do. So they give you a string winder, which everybody should have. You get some side cutters, which for whatever reason they're not in here, but for changing strings. But then you get an array of appropriately sized. Let me put it up. So you can see these are all the metric ones, and a couple of So these will go in the end of your magnetic screwdriver thing. So you've got everything in here that you would need to adjust bridges. There's even there's a 4mm long shank with a ball end for doing truss rod adjustments on modern Fenders. So it's all in there. And there's a set that's got wrenches that will work on tuners, slotted screwdrivers. It's all there, metric and imperial stuff. There's feeler gauges for if you really want to get precise on measuring your neck, and a crappy capo, but that's perfect.
Yeah,
we'll come to that in a second. But
and I think the kit was like $25, right around there.
Dirt cheap.
And it's lasted. Like I've had mine for a couple of years now. It's lasted. I gotta say I like the bench cam here, and I even more like the guitar that's on it. But I'm sure we'll get to that in a moment. So before we get into anything with that beautiful Les Paul, what do you think? One question I wanted to ask you is, what do you think are a couple of repairs that somebody can do who's just starting out to work on their guitar, and what are a couple of repairs where you would say this probably should go to a tech? Like what would be, not you, but like somebody starting out should bring to a tech to get done?
Well, fixing electronics is, let me grab some more pieces and parts here. Because fixing the electronics is easy, but assuming you've perhaps spent $50 on a soldering iron,
sure,
you can sort of replace your electronics. Again, I've pulled out some parts here where these are this is a Telecaster plate. You can see the switch and knobs and stuff. So these are just regular CTS parts. But if these get scratchy, what you really need to do, can you see? I need something to point with. Here we go, pen. Can you see that gap? There, between...
I've seen it. I feel like you're about to tell me about deoxit or something of the like, right?
Yeah, because these things, this is crazy, because these are knobs designed for amplifiers. These is what Leo would have a box of 10,000. He'd grab one and put it in an amp. These are designed to have hundreds of volts across them, so that's why they're so big. But you can probably see it inside as maybe not. You can see the wiper moving. It's exposed. So the dirt gets in here. So yes, you can get the nozzle of your deoxit and spray it in there, get the knob backwards and forwards, and you'll hear it clean up, because it's essentially cleaning using isopropyl alcohol, and it lubricates it a little bit. So you can get much of the crap off these simply by spraying in there. So all you would have to do is, on a telly, undo these two screws. This will pop out. You can sort of flop it over and spray in there. Les Pauls are easy to get to on the back.
Yeah, I mean, and even deoxit, right? I mean, we're talking about probably less than $10 a can for something that's going to last you a very, very long time. And I mean, why live with scratchy volume knobs or input jacks?
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
Exactly.
Where are you buying a lot of this stuff? Like where's your go-to place for deoxit or any of these tools?
Always StewMac for this kind of stuff. If you're buying small volume, that's fine. But there's tons of places like All Parts will sell you this stuff.
Here's StewMac's site. They sell pretty much everything you could ask for.
Their prices are generally higher than if you were buying. But you can go you could go to Amazon and get this stuff cheaper, but the StewMac stuff, you'll get one choice, but it'll work.
Sure. And
they'll ship it reliably. As I said, they're not the cheapest, but they'll work.
I think one of the best things that I used to do, when I was getting into this stuff is, work on one of my first guitars. Like I had a Squier Strat that I modified heavily at this point, which I actually really like. I put new pickups in there. I put, it doesn't have strap locks on there, but even something like that, just going to put strap locks on your guitar and see how it works and how it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. For instance, that Silver Sky I just picked up a couple months ago, the strap locks didn't fit the holes perfectly, but there's a trick. I'm sure maybe you've done this, and I know a couple of my friends have done it, where we take like a little toothpick, add in a little extra wood, to the hole on the guitar, and it suddenly it fits and it works forever.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, just little
That'll
things
work.
like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I know you were talking about truss rod stuff there. I know you have something lined up for us that we wanted to take a look at.
Yeah, totally. Well, what I have here is this Les Paul. I contrived it so that it's in a really bad state. So hopefully you can, if I plug it in, it's plugged in.
I can hear it over
hear
here,
it.
yeah.
You can probably hear it's awful. There's buzz. Plays a bit up here, but it's kind of choked.
Not really able to bend too much either, I would imagine.
Right, and down on the 5th fret.
Yeah.
And certainly down.
It sounds like a Sam Asher Guitar Center on a Saturday. Really.
You're welcome. So, what I want to talk about was how you can measure just using a pick
Nice.
and your fingers and your ears to see what's going on.
Very cool.
And I'm deliberately doing it with a Les Paul because they're very, very much easier to work on than something like a Strat. So allow me to. Here we go. So I've got it on the bench. All I use, I've got this tiny bench, as you can probably see. I've just got one of these squishy kind of neoprene pads, which is perfect because it stops it sliding around, and it's obviously soft. And I use this cork-based pad, which it's got like a taller edge and a shallower one. Doesn't matter, but that's great for resting the neck on. And all I have here is it's like a 3 foot by 18 inch bench, which is perfect for working on guitars.
Cool.
Okay, so I'm going to move the mic a little bit because I want you to be able to hear what noises the guitar's making. So hopefully you can still hear me.
Sure, yeah. Sounds good still.
All right, so if we get clear notes on the top fret, which is what we'd expect. But 12th fret, starting to choke. Now this is all about what's happening along this part of the neck. So if it's choking here, which it is a little bit, all I have to do is crank this bridge. So I'm going to literally just crank it. It's going up. I'm moving the thumb wheel to raise the strings. And I'm going to use my pick at this point, which I know is like a 1.25 mil. I'm going to just put it underneath here. And this tells me, because that's being held like that, that will not fall out. That tells me how high the strings are above the frets. So that's very, very low. So that's my clue as to why these notes are choking up here. So I'm going to keep cranking so that can slide around a bit more.
And when would you tell people to, for someone, again, just getting started, when would you tell people to move the bridge as opposed to, just working on something like the truss rod here?
Well, I'm moving the bridge because I'm worried about what's going on in this part of the neck.
Above 12th fret or so.
The truss rod has very little to do with what's going on up here. So that's kind of loose now. So I should probably, that's pretty clear now.
Yeah.
But what's going on down at the nut? That still sounds like nothing.
Like a cheap sitar at this point.
It's okay at the 5th fret, 7th, 5th, starting to choke there. That tells me literally the action of the string vibrating, slow-mo action. Down here, it's hitting the frets. It's choking off on the frets. So there has to be something about the shape of this neck. So what we can do, 2 ways. By far the clearest way is with a ruler of some kind. So here's a pretty standard straight edge. There's the engineered face. So if I then put this between the strings, say for instance up here, it's rocking a little bit side to side like that, but that's pretty flat there. But if I put it down here, that's rocking an amazing amount.
Sure, yeah.
So this tells me the neck is pretty straight here, but then it takes a dive. So it's bowed back. Literally, there is back bow. Which is why it sounds like that. because there's nothing left to vibrate. So, critical point here, I adjusted the bridge height to make it sound okay here, but bridge height alone cannot solve this problem. So, the other way to check for how straight the neck is using both hands and your ears. This is why I wanted the microphone down here. And
Sure.
turn the guitar off. And hopefully you can hear this. If I hold between the 12th fret and the top fret, can you hear that little tinky sound?
Yeah.
And there's even a note I can get out of it. That implies there's a tiny little bit of relief that allows the string to vibrate between here and here, which is kind of what you want. But if I do the same thing between the 1st fret and the 12th fret, there's no note.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah.
No tinky sound. A little bit there. Here, just a tiny. But still not enough. Because there's a school of thought that says, yeah, the neck should be dead straight. Which then means you have to raise the strings a little bit more to allow them to vibrate. What I prefer is what they call relief. So what I need to do is to let the strings pull the neck up, to allow literally the pure tension of these strings. I'm going to plug in, so it's pretty standard TC tuner.
Nice.
And I'm going to adjust the neck. Move it so you can perhaps see it a little more obviously. I have my Gibson sized 5/16 wrench ready with my had it for years favorite wrench. So what I need to do is there's a steel rod in here that is bent. It's higher at the ends and it's a little bit lower in the middle. So if you actually imagine a piece of rope that you'd laid out in a curve, if you pulled on each end, that rope's going to straighten out. Exactly the same thing is happening in the truss rod. So imagine there's that curved rod in here with all this wood around it. If that rod straightens out, it's going to push up the middle of the neck, or the other way around. It totally depends. So what I'm going to do.
And one thing to say here is that luckily you have a little bit easier access there on the Les Paul for the truss. I mean, not every guitar is this way.
That is worth pointing out actually, because your standard old style Fender neck. Let me pull one out of here.
I like that you just have a neck lying around. That's nice.
Here's your old style Fender neck.
Sure, yeah.
There's the rosewood slug, there's the skunk stripe, which they put in literally to get the truss rod in there. So the adjustment's down here.
Yep.
Which is massive pain.
My telly is like this, but yeah, it is a pain.
This is the only neck I have left that has the crap old Fender style. Whereas modern Fender neck this is a Warmoth, so there's no adjustment up there, or indeed at the end. It's all on the side.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's a great way to go.
Yeah, my Charvel has that nice little notch past the 24th fret where you can kind of maneuver it a little bit too. But yeah, all guitars are different, so you have to see what works for you here.
So this one is great because there's a truss cover with a brass nut. It was a deliberate move on my part to demo it on a Les Paul.
Sure.
So I get my wrench. I want to. This tells me the truss rod is pulling back so much that the strings are touching. So I need to release the truss rod to allow the strings to pull back. So I'm going to start with half a turn. Now this is going to sound awful because there's a nut under tension being released. So wait for this glorious sound. And that is probably
I feel like we should have sampled that.
Tune it up now. All measurements should be done as close to whatever tuning you desire. Whether you're normal like me and can only cope with standard tuning, or you're virtuoso who crazy tunings. So let's give it a quick try. There we go. Now we have a clear note.
I don't know if I could hear you as good right now.
You hear that? Is that audible?
There we go. I could hear the guitar a little bit. I don't know if your voice went down a little bit or maybe the mixer.
Let me move the microphone so.
That's better.
Now we've got clear notes.
Yeah. And I mean, how many, we want to tell people too, you're not drastically doing any turns here on the truss rod. I mean, I guess you could damage it. What'd you do? Maybe quarter turn?
That was half a turn.
Half a turn.
That was all it was.
Yeah.
I've never ever met a guitar that has ever had a knackered truss rod. I've never met anybody that has ever broken a truss rod. It would have to be a manufacturing defect for that to happen, and you would have to make a concerted effort to really do that. Because if you find yourself cranking it and it won't move, and you're like, oh, it won't move, I've got to put more effort into it. That's the clue. That's always a clue in any engineering effort. That's your clue. You're doing it wrong.
I mean, and what did that take you to? I think it's just really watching a video like this, having the tools and the know-how to just kind of like do that. That maybe took 5 minutes, 10 minutes to get it done. Now it sounds great. And also, as we move into the different seasons too, now that we're getting to summer in a couple days, maybe a couple weeks, how often do you do this to your guitars? I mean, do you anything to, I know a lot of people leave them in cases. Maybe it doesn't get affected as much, but I know my guitars definitely do, and I have to do this quite a bit.
Well, we're north of Route 30, so we get the weather that changes from like ultra dry, can get down to 0 Fahrenheit, all the way up to the hundreds, the 90s and the hundreds, and lots of humidity. So for me, spring is all Mother's Day actually is all about pick up each and every guitar and see where the truss rod is,
Sure.
And it'll literally be, you pick it up and play it, and then that's like, oh crap, what's happened? So let me just 30 seconds just finish off the what it sounds like thing. Now we've got it sort of playable. You will now hear between that first fret and the 12th fret. There's that tinky sound.
Yeah.
You can do that if you've got a regular style capo. You can just put that at the first fret, and then you've got a little bit more freedom to check the whole neck. But hear that.
I've never seen anyone do it like this. I've seen some people, can you explain? I've seen a lot of people looking down the neck to see if it's bowed or, any thoughts on that?
That doesn't help you on this at all. That will help you if you're adjusting it and one side works and the other side doesn't. You can sight. Let me let's just switch back here. You can do this.
Sure.
To sight down, and I'm going to sort of rock it backwards and forwards and make the frets disappear. In fact, I can do that. Demonstrate for the camera. See how the frets disappear there?
Yeah.
And you'll see the lines between them. That will demonstrate whether you've got some kind of twist. But that doesn't help you with doing this adjustment. That's why you need to do that. You need to hear what that noise makes when you're testing this sound. So either two fingers or the capo. So we've got relief now. So these strings can actually vibrate. Now, if we do that check on, make sure the microphone's not in the way. I've got probably, that's about 2 mil.
Very cool. So, I haven't seen anyone do it with a pick. I think that's helpful.
Well, there's also, I do recommend these things, the sort of de facto Stumac style action gauge, because that's got on one edge, you can see those gradations there.
Yeah.
Use this edge. Let me demonstrate that. You will hold it on the frets and look and see where, like this is telling me the E string is at 070 on both sides actually. So this is, one could argue this is like medium action. tons of tone though.
But now it sounds, it actually sounds good again.
And there's loads of space to bend.
Yeah. It's not fretting out.
And there's loads of this is fine.
Very cool.
I mean, some people might want the action a little bit lower than that, but that's rock and roll there.
No, it sounds really good. I mean, again, in a 10-minute span time, it sounds dramatically different.
Right.
Before we move on to anything else, I mean, like any other smaller repairs that you would recommend to somebody, that might want to maybe put new parts on, or any other, repairs they might want to try?
Tuners are simple to replace. I've always replaced tuners on everything. So you'll see on my guitars amongst, see all those extra holes?
Yeah.
That's because this had Clusons on it originally. Then it had Spertzels. Now it's got these cheapo Wilkinson things on, which work just fine. All you really need to do is you might have to drill the holes to make them a little bit larger. You might use a reamer, which is a lot safer, but it's really just a case of get the holes the right size, align them,
sure,
tighten up these nuts, and now you've got new tuners. We all did that in the 80s. We all went out and bought Charlotte M6s and replaced our crappy Clusons. And suddenly you had like a 40-to-1 ratio instead of a 20-to-1 ratio, so you could fine tune a lot easier. And as I said, those Wilkinson tuners work just fine, and they're very, very cheap. So
cool. Yeah, I think a lot of this stuff is makes a big difference. I remember even on that Squire I was mentioning, I put locking tuners on there, made a dramatic difference.
Right.
But yeah, that's very cool. And like we said, a lot of the parts can be purchased, and you're going to end up using them over and over again throughout the years. It's the same type of advice that will go into buying any tools for your house. Buy a good tool once, and it'll treat you well over a longer period of time, for sure.
Exactly.
So that was really cool. Again, I think people shouldn't be too afraid to really work on their guitars, and if they are, if it's something bigger like putting a new neck on, or something that they're not comfortable with, I think find a good tech that you really trust in your town or in a neighboring town, and see how they do things.
Exactly.
So I kind of wanted to transition to building your stuff, because not only do you do repairs, but you also build a lot of stuff. And I actually brought up one of my favorite videos of yours, which is this. Got some sidebar videos here for the NAMM show, which is going on right now. A lot of good stuff coming out of that. We'll be talking about that in a couple weeks. But this is a video that you did where you are winding your own pickups. So I can't imagine everyone would just jump into doing this right away. I know I wouldn't. But that being said, I mean, you have a breadboard there, and you're doing some cool stuff here to make your own pickups. And this is one of the coolest videos I've seen on this topic. I loved it.
Oh, well, thank you.
So you built everything. You put guitars together. You've put pedal kits together. I started doing that this year. Had a lot of fun with it. Mm-hmm. What would you recommend for somebody, again, that's trying to get into, building their own stuff? Maybe they want to build a pedal. Maybe they want to start putting together a guitar kit. Like what places online would you recommend to do that? And what would you need again?
Allow me then to get my browser in a state. Hold on, where are you? There we go. Let me transition to that. These guys are cool. Absolutely amazing. I've built two of theirs. Here's one of them. That is a clone.
Cool.
Sounds absolutely incredible. $80?
Yeah, it's not thousands of dollars.
Right. And to be frank, there's no magic going on there. It's just a circuit which has been well documented. So, for instance, there's the one I built recently, the Zen Drive. I'm utterly obsessed with Robin Ford, and This is the Hermida Zen Drive clone of theirs. and they'll sell you the entire kit, and they are so well made. Where was there was a page that you can see they give you all the parts on a board. They give you the enclosure, beautiful instructions. The parts are top quality. I can't believe they actually do it for. Oh, sorry, I lied. $88.
I mean, yeah, still under $100 for a lot of these, it seems.
Yeah, ODR1 is a beautiful pedal. I built a clone of that from this other company, Pedal PCB.
Ooh, nice, yeah.
They don't sell kits, but they'll sell you the PCB and a parts list in the instructions. So you can start with something. Well, even with Aeon effects, you might start with something like a fuzz. Hang on, they've probably got a fuzz.
Yeah, actually, I have. Let's see, I have one from Build Your Own Clone that I did this year or maybe last year.
Yeah.
That was really, really simple. Yeah. They let you customize your own parts, so I have like a green jack for the power, a couple orange knobs. I still haven't painted it, but it sounds cool. I mean, and they do give you all the parts for this one too.
Mm-hmm.
This is their site. Similar price. Sometimes, I guess right now too, with some of the shortages, stuff is not always in stock, but yeah, for the most part, there was, and I think, like you said, the Ghost Drive.
This one cool. Even has that somebody did a demo because of StewMac's profile, right? They were able to. Well, there you go. There's the video comparing the $10,000 plant with the StewMac $100 thing.
That's awesome.
And you can't hear a difference. It's just
I would assume that most people couldn't hear a difference for sure.
Right.
Unless you're someone like Eric Johnson, I don't think you're going to hear a difference on a lot of these. And yeah, like the fuzz stuff, I think because it's a more simple circuit than something like you're not going to start with a delay or anything like that.
Right.
Sure. But yeah, there's a lot of pedal kits out there. I have a similar mat like you have over there for kind of working on pedals, and got a nice Weller soldering iron. Cost me again less than $100, maybe $60.
Yep.
What else would you need? Rosin core solder.
Yeah. Well, I was about to say you can get all this stuff from Radio Shack, but no, you can't.
Yeah. Seriously, those days are over. But yeah, I mean that stuff is pretty easy. But again, to point to some of the guitar stuff you made, like that Telly, a lot of the guitars behind you. Where did you go for some of those kits? I know we'd like to see them because they're very cool guitars.
Oh, okay. Let me.
And whatever you like,
Yeah, sure. Let me create some room here. Because I'm a big proponent of cheap guitars, and you've heard me complain before about how expensive things are. Let me go and grab one.
Sure.
Give me a sec just to. So this was almost going to be about as cheap as it got, but it escalated.
Oh.
Okay. So, note to the matching strap.
I think we need maybe a little bit more volume on the mic, but otherwise it's looking good.
How's that?
Oh, that's good.
Okay. So this is the neck is I got it from StewMac. It's a Mighty Mite. So it's nitrocellulose, just plain old maple, skunk stripe. But fortunately, the adjustment for the truss rod is up there.
Yeah. Custom sticker at the top.
Oh yeah, I just printed it out. It's not that difficult. Now the body, allow me to. This is the best bit. It came from a place called GFX Guitar Fetish. Is the place.
Nice.
Look at these prices.
Yeah. And some cool colors too. I mean, to boot.
Yeah.
It's not.
Oh yeah. Look at that, candy apple red for $90. and they do thin lines, they sunbursts, all of them. So I have now 3 guitars with bodies from these guys. This telly. I mean, have you ever seen a telly in that color? I haven't.
Right? Yeah. No.
This camera is actually betraying it. It's a much lighter, more sort of baby purple, if that's even real. But look at the quality of that finish.
Yeah.
Warmouth, who make beautiful products, they all sell you the same thing for perhaps $400. I did splurge on the bridge. That was about $120. It's a Callahan. They're very, very good. The knobs and controls are just usual stuff. CTS parts and I can't remember who made the switch, but
I think
pretty standard.
One of the biggest questions is, well, 2 questions is, one, I mean, what do you think you spent all in for this guitar, and then also sound wise and feel wise, like what would you put it up against? I mean, like a Mexican Strat, Mexican Telly, USA Telly. You know, where does it fall? You think in that realm of guitars?
I would put it up against anything.
Nice.
This sounds just as good as any other instrument I've ever played.
Yeah.
Let's put on a little bit of overdrive. Because who likes clean guitars? Nobody.
Yeah.
And it was in tune. Look at that.
Sounds like a good telly to me.
Neck pickup. So yeah, about $500.
All in, yeah.
Yep.
And then how long? I mean, you know, you've been doing this a little bit longer, but how long do you think it took you to build the whole thing after you got all the parts in?
The assembly is the easy part, in that you have to make sure you've got the alignment of the strings, literally where the strings are going to fall on this neck.
Sure.
So the bridge position is important, but the beauty is these holes going through the back are drilled for you, and they did it on a CNC. It's not like this body was made by a troop of underage children. This was made by a robot.
Yeah.
So it's utterly accurate.
I gotta imagine, like, you know, there's some sense of pride to doing these things, and then you have guitars that are in that price range, which are certainly not as good. You know, like some of the sub brands, like a Squier. Like, I can't imagine it being good as, you know, I can't imagine a Squier being as good as something like this. So for that price point, you know, it makes a lot of sense to do it this way.
I mean, look at the major construction of it. This plate's screwed on, so's that one. That's held on by screws. These things just push in.
Yeah.
Just use a piece of wood and just tap it in with a hammer. There's some bolts. You know, it's a fender. It's just screwed together.
Especially a telly. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's about as simple as things get. But let me grab another one.
Sure. Yeah, I've seen a couple of these cool guitars so far. Not sure if he's getting the orange one now, but I like that one quite a bit.
He's not getting the orange one.
All right, fine.
If I can in a minute, I just wanted to show you somewhat the other end of the spectrum.
Sure.
In that this guy... Ooh, I keep hitting that microphone, I'm sorry.
Oh, nice, yeah.
This is when you don't hold back on price.
Yeah. That's a beauty.
Right. So the neck and the body come from Warmouth, custom spec. So I went for, this is bird's eye maple, as you can probably tell. Stainless steel 6150 Dunlop frets. Prepped for the Floyd.
Yeah.
As in they did that route for me, and it's spot on. Goto tuners. Just because Charlers are ludicrously expensive now. The body is mahogany. Ooh, turn it around without banging it against it. So you can see it's just, you know, it's furniture mahogany, chambered with a Koa top. Obviously the Floyd, because make some wangy noises with it. Hang on, where's the? Got to plug it in. And due to my love of Mark Knox, where I love necks with no inlays on the front, one volume knob. Actually, with both of these are pickups I wound myself, so
Nice.
they are somewhat custom. These are deliberately underwound, actually, these ones. So this is going to sound a little bit quieter than the telly. And thin for humbuckers, one could argue.
It's a nice super strat, though. I mean,
but this is where the price difference is. So with the Floyd, Floyd's are a couple $100 now. The body and the neck alone, $1,200.
wow.
Because that's what Warmoth is like. It was a custom build. It wasn't off the shelf, and I had to wait. This was pandemic problems, right? Sure. I ordered it in July. It didn't show up till the end of October because everybody like you or I was sitting at home during lockdown going, hey, let's make a guitar. So
yeah,
I in quotes suffered from that.
That's when the Pedal movie came out too. I feel like a lot of people got excited at that point.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think that's inspiring. You know, a guitar like that, it's nearing that real custom shop price. Or I mean, sorry, looks and sound wise, I feel like it is. But yeah, price wise, still pales in comparison to what you pay. I would say for a custom shop, and looks great, sounds great.
Well, it's a beauty. Let me grab the orange one.
Nice.
This was. Oh, you probably can't hear me now. This one was all about. I was winding some Firebird pickups.
Yeah.
I wanted a cheap as possible platform to prove that they sounded good. So I found, again on Guitar Fetish, they sold this body in this ridiculous orange color, which I loved, with humbucker routes. And I found somebody, enterprising young man with a CNC machine makes these Firebird mounts that fit in a humbucker slot. That's what these are.
It's awesome.
Charla Bridge top loader. I've always loved these bridges since the 80s. They were just rock solid. So that was about $75. These Firebird kits were like $25 a piece, and I wound them on my little machine. Same Mighty Mite neck from Stu Mac. These were about $120. The body was $80. Wow. Knobs and stuff, perhaps $30 for all this switch stuff. And there's really not that much to it. There's the control cavity. These are just fake because it's a top loading bridge, and the tuners are just Wilkinsons, Chinese made Wilkinsons. And it's a great guitar, but it's a great guitar because of the Firebird pickups, because they are just amazing sounding things. Oh. Jack just fell out. I think I actually need to adjust where this sits in the. There we go.
Sounds great.
So get Firebird pickups, kids. They'll change your life.
Are you offering your services for winding pickups on this video right now?
No, I'm not.
Oh, all right, fair enough.
That's you know my rule, man. Never change a hobby into work.
Sure.
Never.
So I guess the moral of the story of this whole video is just go build your own stuff. Don't be afraid to work on your guitar, and
yep.
You can't damage it too bad. Probably something that you can't fix again.
Correct. I mean, the Fender style guitars were meant to be. Nobody was ever meant to do a fret job on a Fender. You were supposed to just buy a new neck and unscrew it and bolt the new one on, put strings on it, done.
Yeah.
That's what was supposed to happen.
And I mean, I guess if you do mess it up too bad, it's kind of like you're relicking it in a way.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Auto relicking. Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to close out today with a couple questions. I heard you playing with the pedal board. I don't know if you have the pedal board cam still going on, but what is your current favorite pedal that you've been using? It really could be, any of the different stuff, whether it be distortion, fuzz, wah. delay.
Well, for me, the big problem with... Oh, I did it again. Let's put that right there. How's that? Is that good? Okay, let me get the tally. Get the tally back.
Cool.
Turn that guy off. So we've just got some reverb, and this is my amp clean. All the knobs are like at noon, so it's like about as bland as one can get.
Sure.
Turn up a bit for my benefit. Is that loud enough coming through to you?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Actually, it sounds like I need to adjust the rod on this one. So that's fairly dull, right?
Still a good sound though, for what it's worth. I mean,
Yeah, but it's just clean.
sure.
I hate clean. But this guy, this is a clone of a Wampler Euphoria, as it's called now. Used to be called the Ecstasy, now it's the Euphoria. I never put labels on my pedals, so forgive me. That is overall volume.
Let's see. I don't know if we could see the.
I'm sorry, I need to switch cameras.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this guy here, volume, high end. Let me put that there. That's bottom end, and that's drive. So the trick with this pedal is it's basically a tube screamer, but with way better EQ. So listen to this. See, the drive is quite low. If I can give it even lower. It's already...
Yeah. Sweetens it up.
Yep. See how bland that sounds?
Oh, yeah, sure.
It sounds like an amp that's cranked a little bit.
Yeah.
No discernible overdrive, though. But if I add in a bit of bottom end, listen to how it fattens right up. In fact, the bottom end starts to get really fuzzy.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Bit of sparkle on the top here. Lose all that bottom end. Works well on the in-betweeny positions too.
Where can people find this one again?
Wampler.
Oh, a Wampler.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's a Wampler Euphoria.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not
what it
familiar
is.
with that one. Let me bring it up here too.
So I tend to use this as like the bed for everything. So if I want to add some more overdrive from, say, this is the Zen drive, everything's at noon there. Or a Origin Effects.
Is this the maybe it looks a little bit different on the cam, but is this the same pedal here?
Which one? I'm not seeing what you're seeing. Oh, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Nice. And yeah, around $199 for that, right? Or so.
Sounds about right, yeah. Or buy the kit from, or not the kit, they buy the board from pedalpcb.com and make your own.
Nice.
For about $50.
Yeah, it sounds great. I mean, yeah, it's definitely spiced up the tone. I mean, now going back and forth between that and the other one, your stock tone, it sounds so much better.
Right. And it's not so, there's so little gain on it that it'll lift even sort of more ambient tones. Just some chorus on there.
For other people that want to know, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have seen this pedal at the top, but what are you using for these delays and verbs here?
The TC Electronic Plethora X5. I absolutely adore it because it's so simple to use. Turn on the vibe for some crazy, almost rotary speaker.
Yeah, nice.
Mash pedal.
Yeah, which is one of the coolest features I've seen in a pedal in a while.
Yeah.
Love that.
These are all set up for that right now.
That's awesome. That's great.
And the delays often will go nuts.
And then what's the pedal in the bottom right? I know I've been seeing this a lot lately online.
This one.
Yeah.
It's my favorite overdrive pedal. Again, there's some clean. Let's give it a bit here.
Yeah,
great. It's amp in a box for me. It's very compressed, but
just for good measure, I won't make you play it by hand. But what's the wah you're using? Is this just a regular crybaby or?
Yep, this is another economic move in that I bought this for $20 off eBay because it was in quotes broken.
Nice.
So, but you take 4 screws off the back, and it's all just there in front of you. It's so easy to fix.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, I guess I don't know if this, any of these pedals fall into that. I don't think so. But my other question was, what's your favorite guitar / musical thing that you've been getting into for, what's your favorite thing that's under $100 right now that maybe people could pick up that you've been loving?
Oh, well, maybe this is not what you were expecting, but recent addiction to straps. In that you can get a good, very good quality strap for around $60-$70.
Sure.
For this one's from Germany. It's a Pivo. These guys, if you can see the logo there. It doesn't look great on that camera, but then again, the one I got for the purple telly, that's a $20 Ernie Ball.
Nice.
It's cosmetics for one's guitars,
For sure.
And I got that matching one from Soldier for my orange one.
Yeah.
You can probably see it just snaked over there, but.
I love the Soldier straps. Admittedly, I got into them because of Guthrie Govan, surprise, but I really like. I have one for my Charvel that has a couple of strap locks on it. And it's nice. It's comfortable.
Right. Yeah, I'm definitely pro strap locks. I've got them on all my guitars. The Jim Dunlop style, not so much the Schala style, but
nice.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, it just makes sense. I mean, they're not super pricey at this point. Might as well just have them on. And I think. The last thing I wanted to ask you was we talk about it in the chat quite a bit. We have a lot of good discussions there about new music. What have you been listening to lately, guitar-wise, not guitars, that you've been really into lately?
Good question. Let me bring up my Apple Music.
Nice.
One of the biggest wins for me in recent months has been Zedeski Trucks Band.
Oh, wow, nice.
I've always absolutely loved Derek Trucks for his playing. Who doesn't? That's the way in which he can be so vocal with a slide is incredible.
Yeah.
But it turns out his missus is amazing as a vocalist and a songwriter. So listening to this is their release from yesterday. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And they recently redid Layla.
Yes, really great album.
Yeah, this one, Anyhow, first track off Let Me Get By from, 6 years ago, is just beautiful. Don't Know What It Means is lovely. This whole album is it's beautiful.
Very cool.
Signs is lovely as well. So that, I've known about them. We've seen them live. And everybody knows about Derek Trucks, but it's only in the last couple of months that I've really just put them on and listened to them instead of doing a bit more, not so much active listening, but passive listening, if anything, instead of sitting there with my guitar going, "Oh, what's he doing? What's he doing?" Just shut up, listen, put it on when you're taking a journey somewhere,
I see some Porcupine Tree in there too. I mean, a classic. We were talking about that a little bit.
Yeah, because they've got this one coming out. This they call it sort of. I guess I've lost the link to the
Full thing.
yeah, because they've got a new album coming out later in the
pretty
year.
soon.
But they've got a ton of other stuff. This one, Closure Continuation, it's partial right now, and so I've been revisiting Porcupine Tree as a whole. So there's this remastered version of In Absentia, which is it's just beautiful.
Yeah, it's a great
Absolutely
album.
love it. Yeah.
With Derek Trucks too, it's so funny because I always said to myself, "Hey, I'm gonna get out to see them." They always did these big runs. A lot of their last shows too at the Beacon in New York, and like 10 nights in a row or 12 nights in a row. And I'm like, man, I love that Derek Trucks, Warren Haynes lineup so much. And I've never seen Warren Haynes. I've never seen Derek Trucks, so I got to get out to see Derek Trucks with Zedeski Trucks Band at some point because
Oh man, yeah, do it.
I'm sure it's great.
Yeah, go see Government Mule as well. Amazing.
Yeah, I would love to see Haynes play. I've seen Les Claypool play, like that he's done some work with, but still got to get out to see Warren Haynes too. And yeah, anything else? I mean, that's the 2 great albums already.
This guy Simon McBride, heard about him from That Pedal show.
Yeah.
He's absolutely amazing.
Great playing.
The riff on this first track is absolutely stunning. He's a great player. He can sing too, so highly recommend that. That only just came out, the whole thing, recently. Let me see. Our mate, Mr. Posen.
which you recently saw. I'm very jealous of.
Yeah, he was very impressive.
Nice.
Stunning. So because he had done that he's got his recent single Downtown, which is a beautiful tune, but he had done this.
Yeah.
Mile End, this sort of beautiful instrumental, like, here's how cool I am when I'm just noodling.
What's funny is I think he's just said he found maybe the last bit of vinyls of Mile End. So if you're into vinyl and you want to get Ariel Posen's Mile End, he has a couple of copies left, and he's selling copies of that new EP he has coming out, and I believe you could win one of his guitars, which is great. I hope somebody wins it.
Yeah, there's probably no point in anybody entering because I'm actually
that's right.
That. Yeah. Oh, and this one's your fault, John Scofield.
Ah, nice, good.
I've been listening to a lot recently for this one, Bump, and my favorite is this one, A Go-Go. Love A Go-Go. He's just when he's not doing bebop, because I absolutely hate bebop. When he's doing this kind of really, really understated, palm muted, groovy stuff, I absolutely love it.
It's wonderful. That's the album that I got into him on, during college. It just came out, and he actually came to the school to do a master class, and was incredible. And I was like, that was one of the first guys where I'm like, man, I can actually get into jazz now. It's okay. It's fair, because I didn't, I didn't like it too much before then, and then that was a while now that guys like him and some other players really got me into jazz.
I mean, and if we're talking about funky blues guitarists, I cannot pass up mentioning Robin Ford.
For sure.
Who I love him. He's great. I take part in his, he calls it his dojo.
Yeah.
With all his lessons, and you get to do, there's actually one, it might be today or tomorrow, he does a Zoom chat. So you can just join and ask him questions about stuff. And I've asked him, because one of his bands is Jing Chi, which is a kind of jazz fusion thing. I've always had a soft spot for jazz fusion, for like Chick Corea, tribal tech.
Oh yeah,
all that kind of thing. And this live album is a work of art, especially track 2, Going Nowhere.
Yeah, I was listening to some of this when you linked it. It's great.
Yeah. And I got to, for 15 minutes, because nobody else asked him anything else at all, I got to grill him about that song on his Zoom chat. I said, so what was in your head when you were coming up with this? And what key is it in? And what are you thinking when you're jamming along to it? And he confessed that it was the ambiguity about it that he loved, because it is kind of, it's E minor, but it's also G major, and it's also D major. to give it this different feel. And it was so the coolest thing in the world.
It's
$17 a month. I got to
that's what I'm
ask
saying.
my hero.
It's so crazy that we could even do that nowadays. Like I never, I would love to talk to some of these guys back in the day. It never would happen. But even like Ariel Posen, all these guys have guitar lessons you can take with them, and it's wild. we live in a very good time. If you're just starting out on guitar, we live in a really nice time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I almost knocked Ariel Posen over actually after the gig because he said, "Oh, we're going to be signing merch afterwards." So he finished. Everybody, standing ovation, claps, cheering, etc. And then by the time me and my wife had started to leave the venue, he kind of came racing out to make it to the merch table, and almost slammed into me.
Oh man!
So my interaction with him was, "Oh shit, sorry." So technically, I've met Ariel Posen.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah, I got to get out to go see him. I know he's coming back to New York before the summer is done, and I got to see him. A couple of different people are coming around, and thankfully things are opening up a little bit, so gonna get the chance to do that finally.
Yeah, definitely. Well, make sure you get Porcupine Tree tickets because this is probably their last tour.
Yeah, that's crazy. After all this time, yeah. Amazing. I know the Aristocrats are coming around too, and if you haven't seen them, they just announced because they came out with an album with an orchestra. Sounds great. It's so good. Like the songs are already fun, but the orchestra, the string section adds such a huge element to it. It sounds epic.
Nice.
They'll be coming around too, and they do stuff, and they Marco Miniman and Brian Beller, Guthrie, all do so many different things that when you can catch them, it's good to catch them because you never know when they're going to be in that trio again. So it's good stuff. But this was a lot of fun, man. I had a good time talking to you on here. This was very cool.
Likewise.
I would love to do it again sometime. Maybe we can get some other topics going. But I just think that similar to all the Robin Ford stuff and just being able to ask those guys, it's cool that we have YouTube and videos like this, or just tons of videos on YouTube that we can look at for
too many
for anything. Too many. Yeah, you're right.
Maybe it's too many. I don't know.
I don't know if you want people to find you online, but if you do, where should people go? I mean, I know I put your YouTube channel in the description, but anywhere else?
No, that's a good place to start because I don't have many videos, but it's all focused on gear. So it's making pickups and fiddling around with pedals and stuff. So ask me questions there. That's good.
Awesome. Yeah, no, the channel is very cool, very inspiring for basically all the stuff that we talked about today. So go check it out. It's in the description of this video. And I think that's it. We'll be back in another 2 weeks. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot, Simon. Appreciate it.
No worries. It was fun.
Right. Bye-bye.